Yo guys, and welcome back to another Spore creation video. For today's creation, we're going to be making Disney's Dumbo. I thought this would be like a nice little excuse to make something a bit more cute, a bit more simple. Since I do normally go for the, the big and exaggerated creations, I thought this time around it should be nice to have something a little bit more wholesome, a little bit more toned back and just more chill. Although I will admit, as I've been trying to search for references, I am quite limited because while of course Dumbo is an elephant, that's what it comes down to, it's simply an elephant, it is quite tricky finding the right kind of references because I'm a bit hesitant just simply googling baby elephants because I'm not sure if it will have like the right features, especially the ears being like obviously a very key part. But other parts of the body as well, like I'm not sure if any parts are really exaggerated. I've not seen the movie yet, so I'm just kind of like winging it at the moment, using a combination of the, actual images from the movie itself, as found on Google, and of course the old original animated ones. So I'm just kind of hoping here that we get like a nice little balance between the two. So I think that'd be good for an overall body. The head will probably need to be quite a bit bigger later on. Let me think, will it need to be? As the trunk, of course, adds a lot to the mass of the head. So I think just a little bit bigger, something like that, I think will be a good size. Neck will be a bit larger, there we go. The ears, I'm really dreading on how to do the ears. I've got a feeling that's going to be quite tricky because, as I've said, as I said many times before in the past, doing large flat surfaces in the creature editor really just does not go well. Very, very rarely does that go well. And I have a feeling it's going to be another scenario here where it's just going to look really odd. But hopefully we nail it though, hopefully. Now what I'm trying to do right now is have the, so as you can see, I've kind of moved the spine back a bit, I've reduced it, and have the limbs or the hind legs right on the back of it. That way, when I have the legs in a position that I like, I can just simply move the spine into the legs and it will just become one large seamless part. It's just, that's a nice little job of making everything a little bit more compact. Very tricky, but it does the job nicely. I'm just trying to think right now. Let me think, just trying to think of how best to do the hind legs. I think I am indeed going to look at a baby elephant image for this one. Let me see then. Okay, there we go. So, with all the images of Dumbo I can find, it only shows the front half, which makes sense, You're not going to have promotional images of the back half. But at the same time, though, it does make it a little bit harder to judge, like, how to make the legs. So I am going to have to kind of guess a little bit here, hoping that this limb here will do the trick quite nicely. Let's see, something like that. As they are quite muscular, I have to say. So maybe, and of course it being a baby one will make it quite a bit rounder by default, and of course it being a Disney creature, as we all know, a lot of Disney creatures do tend to be quite round and curvy and just generally smooth. Whereas the sharp and jagged ones are all the enemy creatures or the villains. So yeah, I think having like things be a little bit round would actually be quite good for this. Let's try that. And do I need to have an additional leg? That's the question. Or additional limb. Just like a very, very tiny one like that. I think that'd be okay actually. So we've got that for the basis of the leg. Or legs. Just thinking. I'm trying to think like the best way to approach this. Because hooves are very tricky to do in Spore. With the hooves, you can of course just use one of the pre-made parts, but they never look quite right. Although, as I say that, actually I'm wrong. This is one of the few cases where the pre-made hooves actually will fit perfectly, because that is, after all, that there. Or probably more like this one. No. Yeah, this one here is how an elephant hoof looks like. Probably just a little bit chunkier. No, if that large middle toe wasn't so giant, it'd be a lot better, but that's about as good as I can get. Damn. Alright, it's not perfect, but it's definitely close enough. Now, for the front arms. Oh, whoops. Go ahead and duplicate that. By the way, a lot of people ask, in order to duplicate parts, you hold Alt. That's all it is. You just hold Alt. Nice and simple on the keyboard. Right, so Dumbo's arms, I would say, so like all elephants, it's got like a bit of a wrist, ankle-y kind of thing happening at the front there. They got very lanky front. Actually, no. Alright, so this is why I was saying a moment ago about how I'd rather reference the actual promotional images. So I'm looking at typical baby elephants, and their front arms are very, very lanky. Whereas when I look at Dumbo, they're very stumpy. So I think I'm just going to have to ditch that entire bit entirely and just go with this instead. yeah, its front arms, or front legs, whatever you want to call it, they are definitely quite chunky. It definitely adds to the whole cuteness factor. But at the same time, it makes it a lot harder to, you know, find reliable references. Now, unfortunately, I'm getting that issue where everything's kind of popping in its own directions, which is really annoying. But that right there might about do it, something like that. Now, it looks really weird and bulbous at first. That's fine. Get the smoother part here. We should be able to make it seamless and then make it look like, you know, the shoulder is still coming, you know, through up the body. Kind of like, it's a bit hard to describe, but I can just show instead. Kind of like that. Oh, whoops. Kind of like this technique here. There we go. It still looks kind of really strange in the front. I think I may have just used the wrong limb entirely. I wanted to try use a fairly curved limb, or curvy, but I think that may have simply been a bit of a mistake, because it's definitely adding like some rather weird definitions. Yeah, okay, no, that's not working. Right. Let's go ahead and move that just a little bit more inwards then, so like that, and I want to move this so that the joints are flat, like that. Now, the animation means it's kind of like bending forward, but I think elephants actually do that anyway, come to think of it. I think that's actually quite okay, to be honest. So, let's try that again then. Let's add all the big, nice shoulder muscles. Like so. And hopefully the front arms won't be quite as awkward now. Right. Though I'm probably going to have to exaggerate it just a little bit. Let me see. If I move that to the front there. Yeah, it's going to be quite tricky because it's such a very, very different kind of limb here. Oh, actually, yeah, having a bit of a curve there does quite a nice job of it. In fact, I like that. Right, I think that works. Again, not perfect, but I think it works quite nicely. Especially for the exaggerated posture that Dumbo has. Excellent. Now for the trunk. Right then, the trunk is obviously going to be made via limbs, and I will be using another smoother in a bit to kind of like connect the base of the trunk to the face itself. Actually, before I do that, mouth. Now, would like an animating mouth. There's something I've been skipping a lot on lately, is I tend to not add animating mouths, and I know that not a lot of people like that. Although, in my opinion, custom mouths are just really... what's the word? They just don't really work out very well, in my opinion. But I am trying to get into the habit of adding them more often again. That way the creature's got a bit more function. Let me see. Can I make that upside down? Or not upside down, sorry. Make the bottom part a little bit bigger? I can that way. Oh. Okay, something like that kind of works. And if I have the limb there, the trunk... Now that kind of works. See, that looks really awkward in my opinion. But as I said, I know it's a thing that a lot of people are wanting lately, so I want to try, you know, at the very least, try and nail it. Maybe upside down then, like that. That does it a little bit better. It's got like a nice sharp mouth as well. Okay, that's a bit better. Not really what I like. But it works, so it works. Maybe it's just because the mouth is so large. Like, of course, I'm making a trunk. Things are going to look a little bit proportionately off. I think that maybe that's why I'm not liking it yet. Right, so in that case, let's carry on the trunk then. Yeah, something like that. And now she's kind of greeting at you, saying hi. And of course, one of the very, very few scenarios you would ever use this part, the sniffle. I don't think I've ever used this part. This nose part here, except only for making elephants or mammoths. This definitely is one of the more niche parts available to you. And then for the feet, I want to make the feet a bit more round as well. I think I might just use these spheres again, to be honest. These spheres, for as simple as they are incredibly durable and malleable, allow you to do all sorts of things with them, and therefore accomplish all sorts, such as simply as adding just a bit of flesh between the feet and the wrists or ankles. That way it just doesn't have that really awkward transition from, you know, limb to foot. Now it looks a little bit more seamless. Yeah, there we go. Just something as simple as that. And when this creature's rendered, it will actually look quite nice. Right now it's a bit distracting, you know, you can really see it, but when it's rendered, it won't look quite as bad. In fact, just to really take it up a notch, And just to put a little bit more effort into it. I also want to have like a bit of this flesh on each toe. If I can. Something like that. Because Dumbo's feet are quite chubby. I mean, then again, all elephant feet are quite chubby. So I do want to kind of try and reflect that into this. I suppose that's probably a bit too much just there. So make it a little bit more flatter. Bring it back up. There you go. So now it's got like a nice distinctive curve. The reason why I'm adding these subtleties that I don't normally tend to skip a bit is because I know already this creature's going to be like very simple. And therefore, like, you know, it's not going to have like a ton of details, a ton of different parts all over the place. And therefore, I'm actually quite okay sacrificing a bit more complexity or budget into different areas like this. Because I know I'm not going to need it later on. I'll probably be finished with this moderately quickly. Which is why I'm quite happy to add more around here. And also because it does a nice job of like tying the entire creature together in the end. Little subtle details like that, especially in drawing as well. This really counts for drawing. Little subtle details really do help tie everything together, and they just complement each other. It makes, especially if you're referencing like a real character, if you're doing fan art, it just helps, you know, it's just better. I'm not very good at explaining it, but in my opinion it's just better. Right then, so that's what we have so far then. I kind of feel like it's a little bit tall. But, when I add the ears though, that'll probably offset it quite a bit. So, next up, save, again. Next up, we'll do the tail, then the eyes, and then those great big ears. So for the tail will be really, really simple actually. So what is a typical baby elephant tail like? They're just little, tiny little strings, aren't they? So, I can probably just use that. That simple little piece there. And can I like make it curve around a little bit? Not particularly. But I think that on its own works quite nicely. Now the question is, do I want to use a smoother for the base of the tail as well? I think I'll try. It might be a little bit unnecessary, but I think it's worth a go just to see if it does do what I want. So if I bring it to the back there, make that bit there a little bit larger. No, will it not let me? No, apparently not. Oh, now it will. Good. This is only going to be very, very tiny. Just move it about there. So it's going to have like a bit of a lump, which I do not want. I only wanted to cover the base of the parts. There you go, like that. And then if I move that like that, there you go. I think that'll be okay. Like, it's a very, very subtle little thing there. It again just makes it look less slapped on and more, you know, part of the creature. Cool, I like that. Eyes. These eyes, right. Now, this is going to be a bit of a tricky thing. So, Dumbo has, like, really extraordinarily large blue eyes. And I would rather use like a pre-made item for these, but they're not going to have that same vivid brightness. I think I'm better off actually just making it from scratch. So I will actually use these eyes entirely, the custom eyes, but I'm going to go ahead and change the actual colours of the iris by just simply placing in coloured spheres. That way it will still animate, and it will still function, although it does tend to get a little bit glitchy sometimes. But that way, you know, it's a different colour. So, kind of like that. And of course, the little black pupil, which is kind of poking out there, but I'd rather just have an additional one that's like an actual full colour. And the pupils are rather small, as far as I can see. I gotta say, like, in one promotional image, the Dumbo's eyes are quite cute and very, you know, cartoony. In a lot of the other ones, it's quite scary to look at. It's got very scary eyes. Poor little thing. I think for the trunk, we could probably get that wrinkly effect just from the textures alone later on. But for the eyes, we're going to need a lot of work on the eyes. What's going to be the best part to use of that? I could try this. This will also be a good way to kind of add in the cheeks in a while as well. As it does have very, very happy cheeks. Now that part there is just too narrow. Okay, I can't use that. Maybe I can use this part here, as it's quite a bit wider. So maybe something like that. But this will also help, you know, bring the eyes back into the head as they were kind of jutting forward a bit, and it was a little bit creepy. But if I do this, it again just brings it all together. And if I add multiple layers like that, what I'm kind of trying to do here is make it look like eyebrows. So it's very exaggerated. Very hard to describe. But I think that'd be okay actually. So I can't really get quite the happy expression that Dumbo has. But I think that there is still quite okay though. So we have that. We'll have another one below. So we've got both sets of eyelids in play. And of course, it'll still animate because it is the actual, you know, core Spore eye in place. So have that one there. Bring it in that way so it's just nice and subtle. And then the big chubby cheeks. I think for the big chubby cheeks, we'll just use a sphere. They won't be too chubby, of course, but it will be like slightly defined. So kind of like that, I guess. It does look a little bit. It actually looks very, very creepy though. That's the issue. Maybe I should change the angle entirely. More like that. I think it may have just been the wrong orientation. Yeah, I think that was the issue actually. It was just the wrong orientation. That looks a lot better. It still looks terrifying, but it looks a lot better. I really think when it textures out, a lot of the scary features like the big eyes, I think they're gonna like really tone back a bit. Now, do I want to do that with the mouth as well? Because the mouth is looking quite thin, to be honest. If I do that, just a nice little subtle area there, would it still animate? Yeah, animate's fine. Okay, yeah, I think that's okay. Good. And then, of course, those great big giant ears. How on earth am I gonna do this? Oh boy. Well, I think first things first, we're going to have to make the ears using the limbs. At least the base of the ears, of course. So, the ears start around back here, I'd say. They start off actually quite chubby as well. I mean, they kind of should, granted how giant the ears are in the first place. In fact, oh, this is a point actually. Dumbo's got like very, very uniquely shaped ears. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. And I think about it. Oh, that's going to be tricky. Right, okay then. See, it's always like the most, not boring per se, but more like the more mundane features that really catch you on this. So I think something like that for the top part of the ear. And then it kind of goes inwards and really juts down dramatically after that. So I think that'd be okay. Now, just to make my life a little bit easier, I do need to make the ears fairly straight. Like that. Okay then. Is this gonna work? This is gonna be tricky. Fortunately, I do have the colouring spheres. Like, this mod, like I was saying earlier, is so durable. It really does allow you to do all sorts of crazy things. And in this case, I need large, flat surfaces. And I need ones that are somewhat straight-ish. So kind of like... I could just do that, to be honest. It's a little bit lazy, but it's the kind of thing where if I add on too many parts, it will quickly, like the textures will really mess up. That is another tricky thing actually, when you're trying to get large flat surfaces. If you use too many parts, too many overlapping parts to really get the shape that you want, the textures really suffer. So you actually want to use like as little as possible, and it is quite lazy to be fair. But it's the catch, isn't it? Like you either want the perfect shape or you either want the perfect shape but muddy textures, or you want to strike a balance between the two. And that's what I'm gonna have to do here, strike that balance. So, got that part of the ears slotted in there. So again, I want to use as few parts as I possibly can. I'll bring that down slightly and make it just a little bit thinner. There we go. In fact, I may have to just do that. There you go, so it's curved in together. So you can see how there's a very distinct line between the two parts, and that is going to show in the final render, which I'm not really a fan of, but I can't really do much about it either. But you can see what I mean though, like the more parts you'd have, the more that line would show out, and it would just be a mess. It really would be. I am trying to angle them though, so that they kind of complement each other a little bit more. But then I run into the issue where it just interjects into the rest of the body. Damn it. So I need to have them curved. Oh dear. As I said, you've got to strike that balance, and it is tricky. It really, really is tricky. Right, this bit here is going to take some serious nitpicking, so I think I might just go ahead and cut forward. Right then, so there's the ears in the end. They weren't too difficult to do in the ends, but it was still a little bit tricky and a bit nitpicky. They're not going to be the prettiest thing when they texture out, but I think, you know, given Spore's habits, and like I was saying earlier about texture and that kind of stuff, I think these are going to be about as good as we can get. And I'm happy with them. I'm definitely rather happy with how they came out in the end. I just hope that the texture, you know, in our favour. So, let's go ahead and get another smoother to smoothen the ears into the head, because right now they again have that really unattractive, what's the word, slapped on feeling, which I always try to avoid. And there we go, that looks a lot better. Good. Right then. And I think that is about it done, and at least in terms of the body. Now, I did want to add in the accessories, the hat and the circus necktie thing, I'm not actually sure what it's called. I did want to add those parts. Oh, that looks interesting. Huh. I did want to add those parts in, but I actually couldn't find any versions of the actual promotional images. I do see like a little bit of one, like a bit of a Indian headdress thing. Again, like I really don't know the terms here, I apologise. But I can only see like a tiny bit of it. I can't actually see the entirety of the outfit. So unfortunately, Dumbo is going to be naked here, which I hope is acceptable. As after all, I am aiming for the actual movie version, not necessarily for the cartoon version. If I was making a cartoon version, this thing would be a lot more round. And there we have it, friends. There is a wonderful, cute little Dumbo who is... The animations really are not flattering for this. But I actually really like how it came out overall. Although, I just realised that the texture there is a bit too dark. Okay, I can adjust that in a bit. That's fine. But otherwise... I do actually really like how this came out. I decided to add a grasper to the trunk. That way it actually, you know, has the ability to pick things up and animates and such. Oh, what was that? You can see the little teeth. That's so unsettling. Oh dear, okay, so when it's standing still, it's really cute. When it moves, it's just actually, like, horrifying. But I like it though, I like it. I tried something a little bit different with the textures here. That way, first, the ears weren't really, you know, ugly. But as you can see, the textures are really stretched out. Therefore, I wanted a base texture that had a little bit of weight to it, but was overall fairly consistent in shades, and I think that about nails it. Whereas I was using other, you know, other parts to kind of like add a bit of a difference in the back there, which again, is a little bit too dark, and we'll fix that. And around the arms and legs, that way it kind of simulates wrinkles and such, and especially around the trunk. So it's got like a bit of extra texturing all around there, that way it's all nice and wrinkly. And yeah, overall I do like it. I think it's pretty damn good. And as a nice little extra bonus, what I can also do is, if you give me one moment, if I just like hide wings somewhere in there, now our little Dumbo can fly. Oh, it actually works, what the hell? Well, the wings kind of, oh sorry, not the wings, the ears kind of do something there. It's close enough. It's definitely close enough in a really horrifying way. Yeah, I like it. Like I said, I don't normally make these cutesy, more simple creatures. So, with that in mind, I actually quite like how this has come out. And adding those wings where I did, it's actually caused the ears to animate a bit. That is interesting. Huh, I like it. Right then, guys. It's doing a Egyptian dance with the trunk. Oh, that's awesome. Right, yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a couple of things. And as always, if you've got any ideas for creations, always feel free to post them down below. And I'll catch you all next time. Cheers.